Guys, we have a big one here today, and I don't honestly know what to make of this. This is a report coming from Jon Prosser via Front Page Tech. Jon has had, I think overall, a pretty decent track record in terms of his accuracy on big leaks, but this is a big one, and this is the first time anyone's really come forward and had something quote-unquote solid to say about the upcoming Google folding phone, the Pixel Fold or the Pixel Notepad. Well, Jon, not only does he have some solid information he wants to share, they have 3D renders that are apparently based off of photos and other things. He says that he is very confident in the accuracy of these 3D renders. So they're sent information, photos, whatever, and then they make 3D renders to protect the leakers. So we're going to look at these 3D renders here that we have, and we're going to talk about what this might mean for the Pixel Fold. Of course, I will link his video down below because that is the source of this. I'll also link their webpage here, which has the renders there themselves. So as you can tell, this does maintain some of the Pixel 6, Pixel 7 aesthetics, although rather than having the camera bump go all the way to the edges, since it is a folding device, they've actually separated it. It's kind of in a floating island that almost kind of just looks like Surface Duo, but turned sideways, which is a little bit interesting. You can see here, though, that it is a triple camera setup. So that makes some sense as well. There have been some other leaks around, hard to confirm things, but you're probably looking at a telephoto, a wide, and ultra wide, which does, make some sense for it being a premium device. Judging by these images here, I think that some of the leaks about the screen dimensions, the aspect ratio, I think are going to turn out to be accurate, which is to say that it's going to be wider than it is tall. And in particular, that inner screen has some interesting things going on, which we've also seen in some prior leaks. You have a hole punch selfie camera on the cover display, but the selfie camera on the internal display is actually nestled into a rather large forehead, and then there's a chin down there below as well, which is there, I guess, for uniformity, but it's also going to help squish in that aspect ratio and make it just a wider screen, which is something that I'm not actually against. Looking at the appearance here, I think this is a pretty cool looking device. I mean, if that camera bump really is that big, maybe are we seeing a reflection? Yeah, I think we're seeing a reflection. So it's not actually, that makes it look insanely ridiculous, but I don't think it's actually that tall. I think that's a reflection that we're supposed to be seeing there. Chalk and then black, so white and black. Maybe this was like graphite or something like that. Black and white are the two colors apparently that he's heard are going to be available. I don't know what this is. Looks almost like a speaker there, and I'm not really sure what to make of that. There is that internal display. And again, yeah, it is definitely wider than it is tall. When we look at something like the Z Fold 4, you can see sort of where they are differing from Samsung. It's almost like if you take your Z Fold and you turn it sideways. And when I say that it's almost like that, I mean it is literally exactly like that. If you have a Fold 4 in front of you, rotate it around, that's pretty much what that screen is going to be like. But the fact that they've got the chin and the forehead means that the cover display won't be as short as maybe we were thinking. We were expecting something very much in the Oppo Find N range because of the fact that the rumors were telling us that that internal display would be of a certain size and a certain aspect ratio. And then we were looking at, well, okay, what would that mean that the cover display would be? Well, if the internal display has a bar at the top and the bottom, then that cover display can actually wind up being a little bit taller and a little bit more standard-ish than the Oppo Find N. So I think this is actually going to be a really nice cover display experience. And then on that internal screen, something that if you're split screening, look how wide that's going to be. You're going to have two like really full screen apps, which is something that you don't get on the Fold unless you turn it, which is something you're just not going to have to do if these leaks are to be believed. When you open the thing up, it's going to be ready to go for split screening of applications. And it honestly reminds me a lot of the Surface Duo 2. Take the aspect ratio of this, get rid of the hinge in the middle, and that's pretty much what we're looking at there with the screen aspect ratio, the size, the dimensions that we are looking at here. You may have also noticed that this thing looks to be impossibly thin. This is like in the Xiaomi range of thinness. If that's true, then my goodness, they have accomplished something very, very impressive. It also appears to fold flat, which would also be extraordinarily impressive for what they are doing. This would put them in a couple of ways ahead of where Samsung is. Now, he did say that the rumors are that this thing is going to be very, very heavy. It is made of metal, and it is extremely heavy. Now, we don't know exactly what that means. How many grams are we talking? Heavier than the Fold? Heavier than what? Lighter than who knows what? We have no idea, but apparently it is going to be a heavy device. But it looks like crazy, crazy thin. Like this thing looks like it's in the duo thinness range, which is really, really cool. And I'm super excited to see if this is true. I think that this picture here gives you maybe the best example of what this thing's really going to look like. If you look at that right there, tell me, what does that remind you of, right? Does that put you in the same mind as something like a Surface Duo with the camera turned around? I think it does, and I think that that's going to give you a pretty good idea of what this thing is going to look like. And looking back up here at one of these first images, look at that cover display. Does that cover display look a lot more comfy to use and like it might be a little bit more useful than something that is very skinny and very tall, narrow type thing? Yeah, I think it absolutely does. Now, a few more things to touch on here. Apparently, this device is not going to be cheap. We are looking at $17.99. Again, if rumors are to be believed, and they're expecting to launch somewhere around May of 2023, along with that Google Pixel tablet that we have seen. So we don't have a lot longer to wait. Apparently, this thing is pretty much good to go. Again, with everything like this, take it all with a pinch of salt. Okay, this is stuff that's coming from someone that has been relatively accurate, but they have gotten some things wrong in the past as well. So I tend to think that, the fact that this, look, it does line up with a lot of the other rumors that we had seen. Some of the stuff we'd seen leaked on Weibo and different sources like that. It's in agreement with most of these things. So I don't think anything about this is going to wind up being like crazy wrong. But do I want to tell you that, yeah, this is exactly what it's going to look like? I don't know. He may be bang on like perfectly right, or he may have a lot of this stuff wrong. It's really, really hard to say. But at any rate, it's really, really fun to look at, and it may wind up being very accurate. Because like I said, he's nailed some of this stuff in the past. So I thought it was worth bringing to you guys. Again, link to this article and to the video in the description down below. Hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss it. You better believe that if there's any way for me to get this thing in my hands when it releases, I am part of Team Pixel. They sent me a Pixel 7. So maybe, just maybe, if I'm lucky, they'll send me this thing too in May or something like that. And you don't want to miss that coverage when it happens. So do hit that subscribe button. I will see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.